James Harden has been traded to the Brooklyn Nets. It's a 4-team trade, and the Nets gutted the whole team to get him. I mean, Karis LeVert is gone. Jared Allen is gone, which is the guy with the fro. A bunch of draft picks are gone. The Houston Rockets already got rid of Karis LeVert and got Victor Oladipo because he's an expiring contract. And man, there's a lot to unpack here. This is a crazy trade, which basically had to get done after James Harden openly criticized his team. He said they weren't good enough.
We're just not good enough. We don't. Obviously, chemistry, talent-wise, just everything, and it was clear.
Right after he said they weren't good enough, next day, boom, we get a trade. You know, of course, James Harden had poor body language with John Wall. He didn't necessarily like how things are going with the current roster. He felt they weren't good enough. And to that, I really got to say, look, James Harden wasn't good enough because they gave him Dwight Howard. They gave him CP3. They gave him Russell Westbrook. All guys he lobbied for, he got them, he fell short. And you can't necessarily say like, oh, all those guys. All those guys came into Houston, all those guys left Houston. So what was the common denominator in all those losses? James Harden. There was one time James Harden got eliminated with Kawhi Leonard and Tony Parker out in the playoffs against the San Antonio Spurs. He constantly comes into camp out of shape. Even one of the announcers was saying like, yo, we could tell that he had a pregame meal.
James Harden definitely had a pregame meal, averaging 17 points per game. Over.
Crazy disrespectful. All that being said, now it's time to show and prove for James Harden. And the Nets, while I'm not going to sit here and act like they can't be a good team and they can't win games or they're not going to be talented, like I think we would kid ourselves if we feel like they wouldn't work. I mean, and when I mean wouldn't work in terms of initial play, like they can't play together. That's false. Like I think that's false. Now, where I can see that where they won't work is in the trenches in crunch time when one person is really needed at a certain time. James Harden is not your crunch time guy. He doesn't even have a history of hitting clutch or big shots. I guess that's why you have KD and Kyrie. But the Nets have a dilemma here. Kyrie Irving is gallivanting and walking around the planet as if he doesn't want to play basketball. His cause is to social issues, social justice. Now, to me, he's doing himself a disservice because he's not using his platform in terms of the NBA, leveraging it enough to push his social justice reform. He's trying to do it on the side. And he's doing that at the detriment of his team, not showing up to games. He's on meetings, like Zoom meetings and stuff like that, when the team is playing. He's at parties without a mask. So the Nets, especially with all these games being canceled due to COVID and things of that nature, the Nets have like a big dilemma here. Because Kyrie's not going to be able to play he missed 4 games already. He's not going to be able to play for like another week or so. So now you got to wait for James Harden to clear physical and everything like that, and then travel, get up to Brooklyn and stuff like that. So for like the next couple of games, it's gonna be all on Kevin Durant's shoulders. So then when they put all 3 of these guys together, while we all know in the NBA, talent eventually wins out. You know, saw that with Miami when they lost to the Dallas Mavericks and somebody had to sacrifice. You know, you saw that with Kobe and Shaq. You see that multiple places where eventually talent wins out. But the thing is I'll tell you this. It's never really up to anybody's full potential. Like when you look at the Celtics, they only won 1 title together. When you look at the Miami Heat, they only won 2 titles together. You know, I would say the Warriors, even the Warriors, they didn't win as much as they were supposed to, but that was essentially due to injury. But if it wasn't, the Warriors, we could say, is like the best scenario. So the best scenario for the Nets is hopefully get back-to-back titles if they could get there. You know what I'm saying? Which I assume eventually they'll get there. But here's the problem. Who's going to be that guy to sacrifice? James Harden has never sacrificed his game. Even when they were in OKC, when he was coming off the bench and stuff like that, when they got to the finals, he didn't sacrifice anything. And we saw how that hurt because he wasn't really locking down anybody defensively when he wasn't able to score. And that imploded OKC. They lost in 5. Now you're sending them up to Brooklyn where the bench is depleted. The role players we're going to have to bring in some new guys, plug and play guys and stuff like that. The offense, I don't think the offense is going to be a problem except for it's going to be a lot of one-on-ones, which they're going to like because that's going to keep their turnovers down. A lot of people forget this about the Cleveland Cavaliers. They went to 3 straight NBA Finals. It was a lot of ISO. Kyrie got it sometimes. LeBron got it sometimes. That was it. Now you got a 3-headed Hydra coming in the lane, and who's going to do what? It is what it is. Problem with the Nets is now they're going to have to play a lot of small ball. DeAndre Jordan, he's essentially not going to be able to play, which is going to hurt him. And the reason I say he's not going to be able to play is because they're going to be playing fast. They don't want to play slow. They don't want to play with a big man. They don't slow the game down. They want to play fast. They're going to have a lot of Mike D'Antoni sets, which, again, easy to defend. Now when you think about, okay, you got to play small, your defense takes a hit. James Harden is not an elite defender. Kyrie Irving is a pretty good defender, but he gets lost. And Kevin Durant, he was a good defender in Golden State, but Golden State had a lot of great defensive principles. Now we're like, okay, you're in a whole new element. You're the Brooklyn Nets. You're no longer the Warriors. And what I saw with Kevin Durant is he'll play defense up to a certain point, but in terms of that weak side defense and, especially with the Achilles coming off the Achilles, you really can't put a lot of pressure on him to really come through and be a defensive anchor. Like, who's your defensive anchor? DeAndre Jordan? I mean, he gets beat all the time, especially when it's to switch off guards. Like I said before, he's not going to have a lot of opportunities to play. So, all that within itself it's a good problem having. Some people say, like, yo, this is corny and stuff like that. Like, for Steve Nash and stuff. Like, for the Brooklyn Nets, you're going to sell tickets and things of that nature. My problem is this. When palms get sweaty, when the high leverage moments come up, what are you going to do? Like James Harden, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant. Like Kyrie Irving, we've seen that he's been able to hit big shots. Kevin Durant hit big shots. James Harden in the playoffs, he's not as good. And then the fact is he's coming in out of shape. So he has to ramp himself up for game shape. Only one caveat or silver lining I can see is I think the NBA is considering postponing their season for about 2 weeks due to all these positive COVID tests. So if they could essentially get James Harden in some kind of shape in those 2 weeks, if they do it, then yeah, that's perfect. But just when we think we're getting away from the big threes and we're going to like the old school 90s, early 2000s, 1-2 punch, there's a monkey wrench thrown into the whole mix. You get this big 3 guys. Each of these guys are due 30+ million. DeAndre Jordan is due like 20-something million a year. Man, like their roster is gonna be thin. So that means not only do these guys have to be in shape, these guys have to be dependable. Kyrie has shown himself not to be dependable. James Harden is dependable. Now Kevin Durant coming off the Achilles, how dependable can we actually think of him in that state? But in terms of like we're saying that they're not gonna work because there's only one basketball. That's the thing. There's only one basketball. There's only one basketball. Somebody's gonna have to sacrifice. Now, if there's not gonna be somebody to sacrifice, what I can see, and this would be very underhanded by the Brooklyn Nets, if Kyrie keeps acting up, they can give him an ultimatum and say, look, either you're going to play or you're going to retire. Either you're going to play or we're going to trade you. 2 options. Well, 3 options. Retire, play, or get traded. And they are able to trade Kyrie Irving and just basically leave James Harden and Kevin Durant and bring in some other pieces. That could possibly work as well, too. One thing to notice, though, is James Harden played a lot of point guard. So that could let Kyrie play the 2, which to me, he's even nastier, too. Like, he can score he gets buckets. KD played the 3. My problem with all that is this. Once you get to those elite teams, they will exploit you on the inside. And you will have to turn the game heavily perimeter. And my worry is this. James Harden, like I said, is out of shape. When those threes ain't falling, what else can he give you? Can he give you defense? Could he give you clutch playmaking? Other things, what can they give you? You know what I'm saying? Like, Kevin Durant, we already know he could shoulder the load and stuff like that. But if the other two guys aren't really rolling, what can it give you? The thing that worked so wonderfully with Golden State is this: like, Golden State had guys that could really 100% playoff ball at all times. You know what I'm saying? Like Kevin Durant learned how to do it eventually, but Clay and Steph, they didn't have any ego. You're looking at 3 guys with ego, 2 MVPs. You're looking at 2 champions in the mix. It's a boatload of ego. Who James Harden's gonna want to maintain his scoring over the league and all this other stuff. Like it's gonna be a big melting pot of a big melting pot of ego, scoring, and honestly speaking, no defense. Because I can't see these guys playing a whole season and really putting a great emphasis on defense when they have to score so much. Because don't get it twisted, scoring is not coming for anybody else. They don't have nobody on the bench that's going to get them a lot of points. They just gutted their bench, gutted their picks. Draft ain't going to help. So they have to really use this opportunity, use this window to do what they do. And honestly, this is what I'm going to tell you. What does success look like for this team? Look, you just traded away all these pieces to get James Harden. You have a big 3. You're paying everybody. Success is this. Not 1, not 2. You got to get 3 championships with this team. You got to get 3. 2 is like the damn bare minimum. You have to get 3 championships with a team like this. Hoops Junction, where Hoops Meets Hoopla. Like, comment, subscribe.